Welcome to another episode of First Past the Post podcast. I'm delighted to say I'm joined with my mate Liam again tonight. Liam, how are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, all good. And delighted to say we've got our first trainer on this evening, Fergal O'Brien. Absolutely buzzing to have you on tonight, Fergal. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, we've had a long day at Ludlow, but yeah, we're all good. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. So yeah, let's crack straight into it. How did you get into racing? I mean, was it always in your family? And sort of, did you ever start off as a jockey, or was it always wanting to be a trainer?
Unfortunately, I'm not part of the other O'Briens. So no, it was never in my family. It was my dad was a bus driver, and my mum's was a breakfast cook in our local hotel in the village at home in Tipperary. And I was the youngest of six, and my two older brothers, David and my brother Brian, they both went into racing, and I just followed them really. And I've got two brothers and a sister who are totally unhorsey. So yeah, it was just one of those things. It's call it fate, whatever you want. And yeah, I started off in I spent the summer with my brother Brian up in Cheshire at Doug Francis yard, just outside Chester, in a place called Tilston, and had a lovely summer there. And Richard kindly offered to send me to the racing school at Newmarket. I was 15 at the time, so I went back and finished what would be the equivalent to my GCSEs over here. I went back and did them, and then came back over in February 89. I was 16 to the racing school. Did a 9-week course there, and they sent me to Captain Tim Foster's, which, I always tell people that I do feel very lucky, very blessed, because I could have come out of the racing school and could have gone to any one of hundreds of yards up or down the country. And, I was very fortunate to be sent to a fantastic trainer and with fantastic staff who I learned so much from, and who to this day, two of them out of there are still my best friends from 30 odd years ago. And I still got lots of friends from there, David Rossiter and a few people like that who I meet at Newbury because they're local to Newbury. But yeah, so Richard Bevis and Richard Kern, we met there at 16 and 17-year-olds, and we're all there. We'd still be the best of friends now.
Brilliant. And am I right in saying that you also work for Nigel Twiston Davis as well?
Yeah. So after the captains, I went to the captains one day when I've been there sort of 2.5, 3. I've been there 3 years, I suppose, and I went to him one day, and he was very regimented, and he spoke when he spoke when you were spoken to, and he was always governor, sir, and but a great outfit. And you always felt looked after, and it was just a fantastic place. And I plucked up the courage one day one evening to go and knock on his door and said, "Look, I'd like to get some rides and I'd like to be a jockey." And he told me quite blankly that although he thought I was a nice rider and a good rider, I'd never be good enough to be a jockey, and that I'd be better off concentrating on another part of the industry, of like being a head lad or whatever. So anyway, so I took it on the chin and went away, and had a look round and got offered a job with Colin Cowley. He used to work with my brother he was a private trainer, and he said, "Give me some rides," and to his credit, he did. He gave us some rides, and had about 2 rides. And after my first ride, I realized the captain was right. I was never cut out to be a jockey. And so I stuck it out there for about 7 or 8 months, and then it was recession in 91, and Colin's backer, the private trainer, Alan Davis, hit upon hard times, so the yard was folded, and then I ended up at I had a couple of months at Ginger McCain's with Donald, because Nigel wasn't taking any staff till July. This was April time, so I had a couple of months at Ginger's, and then I started with Nigel in 92 or 3 or something like that. Yeah, so yeah, that's I was there for 18. I think Sam was about 10 months old when I went there, and Willie obviously wasn't born. So yeah, long time.
And with Nigel, like, what sort of bloke is he, sort of, to work with, have a working relationship with him? Like, I mean, you hear stories about him, and what sort of insight did you gain from working with him for quite a few years?
I went from Captain Foster, who was the ever pessimist, to Nigel, who was the ever optimist. He's a fantastic trainer. He still is a fantastic trainer. He had a great. I suppose he came from a sort of farming background, so he was a great sort of stockman, and he understood horses, and what he didn't understand, I suppose, sometimes was that when they weren't right, he still sort of wanted to push on. But yeah, no, he's obviously a very good trainer. His record speaks for itself, and he's still training plenty of winners now. And yeah, so I learned everything there, because I worked very hard there. I worked incredibly hard there for him. He's a very loyal boss, and I was a very loyal employee, and he gave me the room to grow. And while I was there, I got married, and I was good. My ex-wife was training pointers and stuff, and I said, look, I'm going to go and work in the yard. And he said, no, look, we can. Her yard was just down the road. He said, no, we can do something together. So I stayed working there while I was training pointers and things like that. So yeah, he was a very good boss. So and while you're there and while you're working for him, he's the best in the world. But don't ever leave.
I know you've recently just gone into partnership with Graham McPherson. How did that sort of come about, and what's it been like so far working with him?
Graham's a lovely bloke, really nice man. He's very, very intelligent man. He's a QC. He's a barrister. And it came about because about last October, November. No, last October we were just absolutely rammed full, and people were sending us horses. And I knew Graham had a barn there of 30 that was empty. So I rang him up one day and said, look, could I rent that barn off you? And if the BHA license it, can you use that as a second yard, as their overflow yard? So he said, yeah, that's fine. BHA came, and we had to put up a few fences and a few gates, but on the whole, they were very good and very helpful. And things just went well from there. So Graham said one day, he just felt like he was sort of caught between a rock and a hard spot. And he's got a young family. He was working very hard as a barrister, and he was trying to run a yard as well. So he just said, could we sort of join forces? And yeah, so I thought it was a good idea at the time. It meant that we could expand without having to build more stables at Ravenswell. And it probably hasn't gone as well. When I went there and when we looked at the horses, I thought, yeah, look, there's plenty of horses here that we can maybe improve and things like that, and do different things. And to Graham's credit, and to Mick and Jody Rory there probably some of them there isn't a lot of improvement. Rat-Faced McDougall ran well for us today. No, but they won 5 with him last year. So, but there's plenty of nice young horses, and I think going forward, it's the short term it probably hasn't gone as well as I hoped or thought it might. But long term, I think the facilities at Martinsville are very good, similar to what we have at Ravenswell. And I say we had 2 nice runners out of there today. Rat-Faced McDougall was second, and De La Signe was third, beating a long way. But we had a nice winner from Suddle there last week, and he had Dublin 4-1 at Newbury. So I think that the horses and some of the staff and stuff have all taken a bit of time to adjust to our routine. And Graham's been very good. He's been very patient, and I'm sure some of the owners are getting a bit frustrated, and Graham's probably getting it a bit in the neck when he's not telling me. But he's fighting our corner, and he can see the long term good in it as well. And yeah, look, I think Paddy said to me today that both horses from Martins Hill, he said they felt great, and he thinks they'll start going in a minute. Yeah.
And obviously you mentioned Paddy there. Obviously, you two must know each other so well. And what is Paddy like to work with? And is he an interesting character on a daily basis?
We probably haven't got long enough to tell you what he's like. He's not. He's actually very straightforward. I suppose we got huge mutual respect for each other, and he knows how hard we work and how hard the job can be training. But he's so driven. He's so part of it, and if Paddy ever feels like I'm taking my foot off the gas, he's not afraid to say, you're doing this wrong, or so, and vice versa. If I feel he's giving one a shocker, I can tell him, and no one gets offended by it, or might get offended for a little bit, but we get on with it. He's got the best interest. All he thinks about is Ravenswell Farm. That's what, and our yard. He just wants the best. I can hand on my heart, quite honestly tell you, without Paddy Brennan, we would never got to over 100 winners last year. And he was phenomenal. He just put his body on the line. He's 40 years of age, and he took some horrendous falls last year. He took a fall off. He yowed them one day at Southall, and I thought, I wasn't there, and I seen on the telly, and she rolled over and off him at the second last because he's given it absolutely everything. I thought, well, he won't ride again. He definitely won't ride today. He probably won't ride for the rest of the week. It was such a bad fall. Literally an hour later, he came out and he lifted Manila Tara home to win Ron Suddle. An hour later, I just thought, and he came in 2 days later and he could barely walk. He's so sore from the race, but that's what he did. And the day, look, I was delighted for Liam. He rode our 100 winner, but I was always hoping that Paddy would ride our 100 winner, but it didn't matter who did it as long as we got to 100. But the day that we had our 100 winner, Paddy went up to Market Racing and took a mother and a father and a fall off another one of ours, just trying so hard. And I can honestly say, without, there was a lot of people that was a big part of us getting to over 100 winners last year, but I can honestly say, hand on my heart again, that without Paddy, we would not have reached it. He drove everyone on, and he was exhausted after the end of the season. He was just, we got to the end of the season, he said, I'll see you in a couple of weeks, and that was that. So yeah, he was burnt out.
You mentioned there about 100 winners, and you're on 94 so far this season. Is the goal to just keep going and sort of get as many as you can, and maybe end up with the most out of all of the jumps trainers this year?
Yeah, look, the goal is, it's not a case of getting as many as to beat the others, it's getting as many as we possibly can. I never set targets, and you just want to win with every horse. That's what you want to do. You just want to try your best and win with every horse. And sometimes you can. We've a good example is a horse Tip Top Cat, which came to us from Nigel's, and couldn't win there. He's won 3 for us. He was third first time out, and he's won 3 on the bounce. And that's what you want to do. You want to just win with every horse that you can. Whether it's 0 to 100 rated or what we have struggled with. I think I've had 3 from Willie Mullins and barely get them round. So once they come out of Willie's, there's never a lot left for them. So. But I'm in good company there. There's Paul Nicholas as well to do that, so it's not too bad.
And just going back, you mentioned at the beginning there, like point-to-point racing. How important do you feel that is? Because I don't think a lot of sort of race fans take much sort of notice of point-to-point racing. I mean, you see sort of clips and videos that come up of horses, when they did their point-to-points. And is that sort of a marker that you look at and think that's, the time where I'm going to look at a horse and think, right, that's one that I fancy or one to purchase?
Yeah, no, I've been very lucky in that my partner, Sally Randall, who's also an assistant. Well, she's not my assistant. We're partners, It's not, I'm the trainer and Sally's my assistant. That's not correct. We're partners, and Sally loves Irish point-to-pointing, and we both got some connections in Ireland. And so we'll be looking at the second, third, or fourth horse. We got a chap, Neil O'Donnell and Richard Curran. And Neil will go point-to-pointing, and he'll see a horse that thinks, that's a bit of improvement in that, and he'll go back and look at the back of the lorry, and he'll go to the yard if he'll know it's for sale, or if he'll think it's for sale, and he will he'll follow it up, and then they're the ones we're buying, the horses that are finished in third or fourth, or maybe second, or it's had 3 or 4 runs point to point. So the big money's gone off it, because what they all want is the 1 run, 1 win. But some of our better ones, they've all had sort of a couple, 2 or 3 runs or something like that. Yeah.
And sort of,
I'm sure.
Go on.
I'm sure you've had a sort of a lot of moments in racing, but is there any moment that sort of stands out to you as like one of your favorite moments, memories?
Look, I've been very lucky. When I was my time at Nigel's, we were involved in 2 Grand National winners, which was phenomenal, and a Gold Cup winner. And the day we had the Gold Cup winner, we had 3 winners at the festival that day as well. Still waiting for our first festival winner. I know how special those days are, and I think that day as well, we won the Gold Cup. Paddy then won on Pigeon Island, won the Johnny Henderson, and Sam won on Baby Run, won the Fox Hunters on Baby Run. So that was a phenomenal day. But look, the day that stand out for me was 2 days actually. It'd be Horsham Lad, which was my first winner on the rules at Carlisle. And that's right. It was a Horsham Lad at Carlisle, and obviously my daughter Fern winning our first ride back at Carlisle on the flat in the summer. it's easy to say afterwards, but like Lord P looked like he was laid out for the day, and he wasn't. You know, we'd given him a couple of runs with Dougie Costello on him. Dougie said after his second run that he needs his wind doing and he's dropping back in trip. But the race was there for Fern, and so it was lovely to go there and just for to ride our first win, to have our first ride and our first winner was phenomenal.
I mean, obviously you mentioned Fern there, your daughter. I mean, she's only 16. Am I right in saying?
Yeah.
And sort of, I looked up and I think she's got 5 winners from 17 rides, and I mean that is brilliant, really. I mean, for such a young age. And was that always her sort of dream to be a jockey, or did you sort of motivate her as her dad, or did she always want to do it?
I don't think I'm motivated. I think, you know, she's so driven herself. You know, I think we facilitated it. I suppose she started riding the racehorses when she was 11 or 12, and that's what she always wanted to do. You know, she progressed to better horses and better horses. Then she's progressed to ride and work, and then she progressed to school. And so so it was lovely. You know, I think she was 16 on a Friday. And then we went to Carlisle. The first available race for her as an amateur was on the Monday. So, look, and that's what we'll keep doing. She's only had 1 ride over jumps because she's 16 and she's very slight and probably wouldn't quite stand the fall and stuff yet as well as she will in a year's time. But she's first year of A level. So we'll see how she gets on with that. But, you know, I've no doubt if she wants to, she'll be able to turn conditional in you know, 6 or 12 months time and make a go of it. She's, you know, I know I'm slightly biased, but she's my daughter, so she'll get every help she can, like we do with all the others. You know, Conor Bray started with me at 16 and Liam Harrison, so everyone else that's been there, you know, they've all got the same opportunities, and Fern will be no different. I think because she's my daughter, she feels she has to work a little bit harder, and she does work. And, you know, the record speak, you don't ride 5 winners from 17 rides by just turning up at the race course and getting on horses. You have to put an awful lot of work in it at home, and physical work, and to get your body and mind right for that sort of thing, you know. So look, she'll have every opportunity, but we won't rush her. And I think it's probably important, you know, I left school when I was 16 with no qualifications as such, and it hasn't done me any harm. But you know, she's brighter than I am, and she's in a position where she can stay on at school and still ride. So that's what we'll do for now.
A question we always ask people we get on, we've done it with jockeys, if they could ride 1 horse from the past and 1 from the present, who would it be? Obviously you're a trainer, so if you could train any 1 horse from the past and 1 horse from the present, who would they be and why?
You know, I suppose a lot of the answers would be Arkle or Desert Arkle, but I grew up, or the first sort of Gold Cup I remember was John Joe Neal and Dawn running. I just love that mare. I love, you know, mares in general. I got a real affection for mares because they're not like, you know, geldings are different. A gelding will run through a wall for you because they're pretty stupid, the majority of them. I don't mean that in a bad way for them, but they're boys and they're pretty stupid. Whereas mares, if you get a good mare and you're trying to work it out, and you just can't train a mare like you train a gelding. So Dawn one would be definitely one from the past, and again a mare from the future. For this time is Honeysuckle. I just love Honeysuckle. I think she's just she's the ultimate. Oh yeah, I just love her. You know, honestly, I was at Cheltenham when she won the champion hurdle last year with no crowds there, and honestly, it took your breath away. Like, I watched the replays and stuff for afterwards, and it doesn't look nearly like she came by us. Like, she was absolutely flying after she jumped the last, and I just think she's just she's the ultimate. Yeah,
that's brilliant to hear, because I think Honeysuckle, I mean, unbeaten, isn't she, as well, still in her career? And and she will get beaten, but it won't affect her. She'll come back and she'll win again, you know. So she just, to me, her, and, you know, again, you know, I'm pretty sure Henry de Bromhead would tell you the same. He wouldn't train her like he would train his geldings, you know, his good horses. You know, she's a fine filly, and, you know, she'll take a bit of work now. So it's a great training achievement, and an absolutely phenomenal riding performance as well, because they just you can just see that between the two of them, between Rachel and Honeysuckle, there's just this bond. There's, you know, without being too airy fairy about it, but they've just got this. They've got this sort of understanding. You can see they're just in sync.
and they both believe in each other, and that's that, you know.
Yeah, and yeah, brilliant. And also you mentioned there, you know, your jockeys that work for you as well, Liam Harrison, Connor Brace, and Max Kendrick as well. I mean, how well do you think they're progressing at the moment? And obviously with Paddy Brennan sort of probably integral to their development as well. Do you feel that they're progressing at a nice sort of level at the moment?
Yeah, undoubtedly. You know, I think Max is struggling a little bit this year, and not because of his riding ability, it's just that he's lost his claim, and it's hard to get outside rides. You know, so but he's riding plenty for us. He's ridden most of the ones from Martin's Hill that Keelan hasn't ridden, so look, his turn will come around again. Connor had a couple of injuries, and struggled a little bit, and spoke to him in the summer. And you know, jockeys are no different than strikers is probably my best analogy, really. And they need to ride winners like strikers need to score goals. And Connor just lost his way, and he wasn't getting the winners. And he was driving up and down the country to ride horses that were 50 to 1. And, you know, that can be disheartening in itself, you know. So we had a chat in the summer, and he said himself that he sort of lost his way a little bit. So we decided in the summer that he'd come back and work for his full time, because the normal progression is once we have a stable jockey, which was Paddy, then Connor was his number 2. And then, you know, once Connor rode his claim out, then, you know, he sort of spreads his wings a little bit. And I never really wanted to. We never sort of sat down and discussed it, but I assumed that's what he'd want to do. And he assumed that's what I wanted him to do. So he went off and rode out, you know, instead of riding out for us 5 mornings, 6 mornings a week, he was with us maybe 2 mornings a week. It just didn't really work for him. So in the summer, I said to him, look, I think, you know, the best thing you could do is come back full time and see how you go. And so that's what we agreed. So he's 5 mornings a week with us. He goes on a Wednesday, which is a quiet day for us. He goes off somewhere else. But yeah, and I think that's been fantastic. Like he only, look, it might have cost him. Maybe it's cost him in rides. He's not getting the outside rides. So last week he only had 1 ride, but it was a winner. Prior to the Kayla Foss last. So he's better off doing that than driving up and down the country, you know, riding out here, there, and everywhere. Yeah, going out here, there, and everywhere for rides and not having winners, you know. So, and Liam, you know, Liam's always sort of pushed him. You know, he's down to 3 now, but he's very good. Got a great racing brain, got a great temperament, and he's so driven. He is very good, Liam, and he's got what it takes. He does a lot of homework. He's very dedicated, like all the boys are. Like you have to be. You know, for someone like Max who's ridden his claim out, you don't ride your claim out unless you're totally dedicated to it. And, you know, he's sort of, you know, feel for someone like Max, because he works as hard as anyone in racing. You know, if he's not racing, he's in the gym, always trying to improve. If I wanted him in at 5 in the morning, he'd be there 10 to 5. You know, so. But his turn will come as well. So I'm very lucky to have such a good group of lads. Yeah.
And how sort of do you keep yourself as an individual motivated if maybe like some days you're not getting in any winners? I mean, I'm sure even top trainers have experienced it as well in the past. Like it just doesn't go your way sometimes. How do you stay motivated and to think maybe next week will be my week where I fire in a few winners?
Yeah, I know it does, and we went through it in December. Really, got a few horses that were coughing, and again, that's all. It's very easy to be a trainer when things are going well, and we're very lucky at Ravenswell Farm that things are, you know. So the Martin's Hill yard, the Graham's yard, is taking a bit of working out, so that's kept us fairly occupied as well. And then in December, the ones at Ravenswell started to not finish their races off a bit. So you know, you're always trying to work that out and why that was. And, you know, have you done any changes? So you're testing hay, you're testing this, you're testing that. But look, lucky again, we've got very good staff, good owners who are understanding stuff. You know, I think with having the winners that we've had lately, and you know, having the 100 winners, it definitely gives you more confidence to ring an owner up and say, look, your horse isn't right. Whereas when you're struggling and you're worried about saying, oh, your horse isn't right, it's going to need another week, because you're worried that, you know, they're going to take it away or whatever, you know. But you know, now we're at the point where someone's not happy with what we're doing. That's, you know, good luck to them. If they want to have a go somewhere else, you know, we're always doing our best, and we're always honest, and we're always trying our best. So it's not good enough for him, then that's fine, and sometimes the grass can be greener on the other side of the fence. But we do what we do, but we work hard and we're honest with it. So yeah, it doesn't always work, but yeah, we're always trying.
And sort of, I know
Do you have
Go on, Liam.
sorry, go on, mate. Do you have maybe 1 or 2 horses our listeners could sort of keep an eye on for the future?
I think he's only run once, but I think the lovely horse is Holland Back. It's a question I hate answering because I end up giving it's like the kiss of death. But yeah, Holland Back. He's had 1 run. He had 1 run at Chepstow. He's had a break now, and he's come back. He'll run at Newbury at the end of February. He's a lovely horse. When he came, he was so raw and backwards. Didn't work very well. He worked okay. Don't get me wrong. He was the owners. He's called Holland Back because all the owners are from in and around Hull, and so he was they'd ring up, and because they didn't too far away from to come and watch him work. They'd ring out, how's he working? So yeah, he's grand. He's working grand, and then he had to back off him, and then we got him going again in the summer, and he was working okay, and he was never really setting the gallop light. So we went to Chepstow. So I said, lads, look, we finished. It was 12 runners. They finished in the first 6. There was 4 fancied horses in it, from Good Yards, Harry Fry's, Skeletons, Nichols, and there was another one, Evan Williams's. And there was 4 fancied horses in the race. So I said to the lads, if we finish in the first 6, we'll have run great. Everyone was happy, and he was 16 to 1, so they backed him each way because just to be loyal. And it wasn't that the fact that he won; it was just the way he won. We ride all our bumper horses cold from the back, and he just hacked away around the back, turned in the straight. I could just see Paddy wasn't doing a lot on him. I thought, this lad's going to run all right. He will be in the first 6. I felt a bit of relief because you never know till you run him. We don't work him on grass or anything like that. So, and he just absolutely sighed his way on the outside of the field, and he got to the front and sort of looked around, and Paddy gave him a squeeze, and he literally took off down the hill at Chepstow and back up the other side. It was, yeah, he was very impressive, and if we can keep the wheels on him, and everything goes well, yeah, he'll just, because he's 16, 2 or 3, he's just a very exciting horse, yeah. And then another one I suppose would be something like, there's a filly, she hasn't run very well. She ran okay. She was second her first bumper, and then she fell at Leicester. A horse called Here We Go Honey, Midland Park horse, and she's I think she's just had a hard old time. She came from the sales. She went pre-training. She had the summer off, went pre-training, and she came to us, and it's taken her a bit of time to find her feet, but I think in the last 2 or 3 weeks she's really found her feet, and again, very good owner. She was meant to run there a week ago, and she just wasn't quite right. But I had the confidence to ring up, even though they've waited all this time, to be able to say, look, she won. And they're going, that's absolutely fine. And that's what good owners do. They give you that confidence, and they say, look, don't worry. Crambo was another one who was meant to run over Christmas. Said to the owners, look, he's not quite right. Just Jared Sullivan and Chris Giles, some people that know they're racing. And they said, look, take your time with him. And we ran him then the other day at Huntington on Boxing Day, and he actually slooshed up. So I suppose Here We Go Honey would be the other one.
And obviously, just touching on your horses there, what are the plans now for Imperial Alcazar and Silver Hallmark? Is there any plans going forward for those 2?
Imperial Alcazar, I was really happy with him at Newbury first time out. We got beat by a very good mare, giving her £7. Lovely first run. He jumped brilliant, and when it was a muddy old race, he had to make his own running for a lot of it. And when she came to him over the last 3 or 4 jumps, they really winged up the straight at Newbury. And she's a very good, very, very good mare. She came out and won a listed race afterwards, frankly form. So, and I was happy. And then we went to Chepstow the last day, and I couldn't see him being beat. I was watching him everywhere he went in the race. Paddy was almost taking the pull, jumped the second last. And one of the horses, and he was one of the ones that just wasn't feeling quite 100%. But from jumping the second last to the last, he just started treading water. And Rebecca Curtis' horse to beat him, I can't remember, it's course and distance winner there. So he was running from £2 out of the handicap. So we gave it a fair bit of weight as well. And it was, but it was a disappointing run. So I think we got a race for him at Cheltenham maybe at the end of the month. I think there's a 2.5 mile novice at Cheltenham. So he'll go there and see if we can see if we can, put that one behind us. And Silver Hallmark, I was, I don't know whether it's because he won a grade 2 last year, and then we've had to pitch him straight into. I was delighted with his first run at Carlisle. I just wish now that we could have run at Cheltenham. The ground wasn't, he wants proper soft ground. He wouldn't have come down the hill on sort of good to soft ground. He's a little bit fragile, and just couldn't, like, I was never happy with him from the word go the other day. Adam said he felt fine, and whether it wasn't didn't like the ground. I just think maybe in a sort of big handicap, and they just don't hang about, and he sort of had to use his run up to get them, but he was beaten too far out. And again, we didn't find a whole lot wrong with him. So we'll just come back and we'll go again and see where we are with him.
Another horse I'm fond of yours is Bonte. What's sort of the plans for her going forward as well?
Well, the plan always after Cheltenham, her last Cheltenham win, was to go to Cheltenham. I had a message from the owner the other day. Can you give me a ring? Because I own half it with him. Can you give me a ring? I'm not sure about Bonte going to Cheltenham. Well, my half's going to Cheltenham. I don't know where his half's going. So, yeah. So she's phenomenal. We're very lucky. Cedric Brooks has been a fantastic owner for me. He was a nice horse called Honeymoon as well, and one of my best horses again, a lovely mare called the Governess. Cedric had with her, and this mare is a very similar story to the Governess. In the Governess, that Cedric bred the Governess and couldn't sell it. So decided to put into training. Won first time out. Went to Cheltenham, was 5th in the October meeting, and then went back and won the mare's listed bumper in November, and then went on and was very good. She was 148 rated mare before. I was sort of moving yards and one thing another. Cedric decided to send her somewhere else, but we never fell out. That was his decision. And Bonte's very similar in that we had a nice mare, and Cedric's got a very good friend in Ireland, Pat Doyle, who does a lot of breeding and looks after a lot of horses. Very, very shrewd man. And we had a mare that we won for Cedric, and then she got an injury, so she went back, and Pat said, look, you can have this Western, or sort of broken her in and got her going. I don't know, but we'll do a swap. And Cedric he did originally own the mare before he gave the mare to Pat. I've forgotten the mare's name now, Bonte's mother's name. I shouldn't forget it because it's Cedric's son's. Anyway, it'll come to me. So Bonte came over and we trained her away, and it took a bit of time because she was a Westerner, and again, loved working those ones out, and she just wasn't straightforward. She was wild. And she went to market racing first time out. She was so impressive. She didn't have a clue what she was doing on grass, and she was all over the place. And Paddy got her up sides in front, and then she literally, a bit like Holland Back, took off. So then the plan then was that she had a break, and then she was going to come back and go to the October meeting to see that she handled the track, because her big goal was to go back to the November meeting. And Paddy chose to ride something else in the race, Jeremy the Gin, who'd also won a bumper on market racing. And Connor gave her a beautiful ride, and she hosed up again and beat the boys. And then she went back again against some nice mares in the listed mares bumper, and she was very, very impressive. So I think she deserves to go back to Cheltenham. She gets a mare's allowance. We run her in the mare's listed anywhere else we're going to end up carrying a penalty. So my feeling is that she should go back to Cheltenham. She'd get a mare's allowance. We know she likes Cheltenham. She's 2 from 2 there from there. So fingers crossed.
Brilliant. And I've just been told by Zoom that we've got 5 minutes left before this meeting ends, so better wrap it up in a few minutes.
Good, because I've only got 10% battery.
Oh, yeah, we'll finish up in about 2 minutes or so. And just finally, what would your sort of final advice be, sort of, to like a young trainer who's up and coming? Is there any advice you'd give them?
I suppose the first bit of advice to anyone who was thinking about training would be to get as much experience as you can. I basically worked with the captains and Nigel's. I haven't been to lots of yards, so I was very lucky that Nigel let me train pointers in between. So that was a great experience. But if Fern said to me tomorrow, look, I don't want to ride anymore, but I do think I want to train, I would send her all over the world, as far as I could send her to the best place to go. Because just knowledge, you just can't, whether you use that knowledge doesn't matter. But knowledge is a great thing. So I would get as much experience as you can. And once you get a system, that you find it works for you is stick to that system, even when on the bad days, because it's sport, and as long as you stay on the wheel, your turn will come back round. And that's the big thing. It's just to believe in that system, and if it's worked for you before, there's no reason why. You'll always need tweaking, and you'll always need to update things. But yeah, if you've got a system that works, you then just believe in it. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, I think that's about it. Fergal, we really appreciate you coming on and taking time out this evening. We really appreciate it. We enjoyed chatting.
Thank you for your time, Fergal.
No bother, pleasure. Thanks for having me on and for being the first trainer.
Yeah.
Good luck with the rest of them.
Thank you. If everyone enjoyed listening to that, check us out on Twitter, FPTP Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, First Past the Post Podcast, and we'll hopefully see you soon. Thank you, everyone, for listening.